and welcome to the news on NT International. I am Habiba Oladipo. We begin with a look at the headlines. Kaduna High Court grants the leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, and wife leave to travel to India for medical attention. Council in the petition of the Hope Democratic Party adopt final addresses before presidential election petition court. ECOWAS election administrators meet in Abuja, deliberate on key issues of electoral reforms. Kaduna High Court, presided over by Justice Darius Kobo, has granted the leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, and wife leave to travel to India for medical attention. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that the court also ruled that El-Zakzaky and his wife be accompanied by government agents to guarantee their return to the country for continuation of their trial.
Anxiety is exactly the word used by one of the national dailies yesterday to describe the situation in Kaduna some hours to the continuation of the trial of Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky taking place at the High Court here in Kaduna. And today both parties, the prosecuting and the defense counsel, have had their day in court, and Honorable Justice Darius Kobo has been able to peruse all the document containing their argument for or against the Sheikh going out of this country for treatment. And finally, the Justice Darius Kobo has granted leave to Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky to seek for medical attention abroad.
There were 8 different medical reports that showed clearly that the applicants are in dire need of urgent medical treatment abroad.
When
the court agreed with the applicants and granted the application as prayed.
The court said when he was effectively discharged by the hospital that he referred to Medenta Hospital in India. So as soon as he's discharged from the hospital, he returns to the country to continue his trial.
And with this judgment, it means that Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky will now prepare himself to go abroad for medical attention. And then once he is discharged from that hospital, he will be back again to the court where he will continue to face the substantive charges against him, which basically will come any moment from now because the actual trial has been suspended indefinitely. I will definitely keep you posted when that happens. In Kaduna, my name is Abdullahi Mohammed, NT News.
Many thanks, Abdullahi. The presidency has advised those supporting the planned revolution march to be conscious of the security implication of their actions. The presidency said a Nigerian is by right empowered to call for a change of government using constitutional means to protest peacefully against government policies and decision. But to call for the violent overthrow of a democratically elected government amount to treasonable felony. It maintained that the police under a new leadership is now rising to the occasion of protecting lives and property in Nigeria, saying the government cannot take any more atrocities against the law in the country, adding that violence will never be accepted again as a way to change government in Nigeria. Apparently irked by the action of Omoyele Sowore calling for a violent protest to effect a regime change, reactions have been trailing the actions. Public affairs analyst Jide Ojo, who spoke in our studios, wonders why such an action is coming from a person who participated in last February presidential elections.
There was an election in February and March 2019. The arrowhead of this revolution now protest was one of the contestants, one of the 91 presidential candidates. He lost. And you can't come through the back door to now be asking for regime change. I must clarify that the Constitution of Nigeria actually recognizes right to dissent. You can dissent, you can have a protest, you can demonstrate your grievance, but not regime change, not violent protest. You understand? So that's the distinction. You can, I mean, the police in FCT even came out to say all protest is confined to the Unity Fountain. So you can go there, like in UK, we have what is called Speaker's Corner, where people can go and protest. And that, Abuja Unity Fountain has been provided for that purpose. So, but to say you want to have a regime change, you are calling for violent protest, no sane government will allow that to happen.
The analysts believe such actions are uncalled for in the view of its security implications. And to talk more for the call for revolution and Nigeria's democracy, I have with me in the studio a political analyst, Dr. Abdurrahman Abu Amizu. Doctor, welcome to NTA International News.
Thank you very much.
So what amounts to revolution against the state?
Well, once a state has settled the issue of the means through which you can acquire power, in the case of Nigeria, the Constitution envisaged that there must be a process to acquire power, and that process is either through appointment or through election. Any other means other than these two that has been constitutionally recognized amounts to treason, amount to a coup against the state. So for Nigeria, the two ways of acquiring power is through election or by appointment.
So how then do you see a call for a revolution march by a section of some people in society?
Of course, some people will argue that it is their constitutional responsibility, but every state has a law, and once that law has been breached, the other sections of the law will be invoked. Don't forget that the constitution that recognizes election as well as appointment also recognize what is called treason. Treason simply means a coup against the state or attempt to forcefully acquire power which is not recognized by the Constitution. So this very particular call by Sowore, somebody who was a candidate in the last election, who submitted himself to the democratic process of acquiring power, and during that very particular period and after the elections, he did not come out to say he's protesting or that he has gone to court, which is another constitutional means of seeking redress. In a democracy, the judiciary is the last habitat of any conflict. So he didn't go to court to say he's challenging this part of the election or that of the or this part of the result that were declared. He simply went away only for him to come back to say that a revolution now. And no any government anywhere in the world will even countenance that. And I want to even say that Sowore is not serious. Nobody, I repeat, nobody, no any revolutionary will come to the glare of the public or the camera to say that by tomorrow I'm going to lead the revolution. It usually starts with protest. Even if you have revolution in mind, you start with protest, and as the protests gain momentum, you continue to do what to win mileage, and then before you know, a power is taken away from the ruling class. So it is a contestation for power, so nobody should interpret it anyway. There is a clear distinction between protest and then revolution, and we must contextualize the issue and then deal with it accordingly.
So, Doctor, you know the government has tagged this call as a treasonable felony. What's your take on this? Do you think it's appropriate?
Of course, that is the word for it. No any other word for it. No any other word for that action. Because once you said you are embarking on revolution within the context of power struggle, it is envisaged that you are going to use violence, and no government will sit by to watch anybody go to the street to say you want to use violence. Revolution is not a tea party. And I'm not surprised that people are shouting that some persons were wounded at that very particular gathering. You see, when you mention revolution, as a person, you've already set up yourself anywhere in the world. Even in we like toiling with democracy and freedom of speech. You go to America, Russia. Even in America, no person will go to the street and shout revolution and the state will allow the person to be. Revolution is a serious business. It involves the use of violence, and the state will not watch you to say you're going for revolution and then they will tell you thank you. Secondly, Sowore said by Monday today, DSS will be history, that DSS will not exist, and DSS went to pick him. Maybe you should go and explain what he means by that very particular statement, that by Monday today, DSS will cease to exist. And DSS is an arm of the state that is supposed to maintain order in a way that will lead to harmony and then peace and peaceful coexistence in this country. So for him to have said, and for his group to have equally accepted that they are going to embark on revolution, I bet you anywhere in the world, he has set up himself as well as the group for the state to deal with them.
Like now, so what will your advice be for his supporters or supporters of this kind of action and government on how to guard the peace and stability of the nation? What would your words be at this time?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the state is doing what it's supposed to do. The word of caution should be to the supporters of Sowore, because you cannot take to the street and you continue to destroy and you expect the state to keep calm. You cannot tell the state that I was going to go violent and then you expect the state to keep calm. So from the very beginning, they are the people that set up themselves for what they are in, and then we want to urge them, since they are law-abiding citizens of this country, that they understand the norms and traditions of government as well as how to seek power, which the Constitution has already stated, as I earlier mentioned from the beginning, is either through appointment or through election. If they want change of government, they should work the constitutional part of really acquiring power. Don't forget the fact that Mr. President, the current president of Federal Republic of Nigeria, contested election 3 times. Those 3 times he lost. He never called anybody to the street on the account that there should be revolution. If he had done that, the 12 million persons that have always voted him would have really brought Nigeria to its knees. The only thing I remember was in 2003, he led a peaceful protest, which was dispersed by the state. He never called for revolution. If he had called for revolution, there will be no state that Sowore will be fighting over today.
Thanks. I think that's a fine place to leave it there. I've been speaking with Dr. Abdurrahman Abu Hamizu. And moving on, President Muhammadu Buhari is humbled by the support for democracy by Nigerians across the country who shunned the planned revolution march by a group, Global Coalition for Security and Democracy in Nigeria. In a statement tagged, "The winner is democracy." Democracy in Nigeria, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, commended the wisdom of millions of Nigerians who choose democracy and choose not to undermine elected governance through the ballot box. And to judiciary matters, counsel in the petition of the Hope Democratic Party has adopted their final addresses before the Presidential Election Petition Court sitting in Abuja. In this petition, the petitioners claimed that in a referendum conducted on February 16, 2019, that their candidate polled 50 million votes. Dele Atumbi reports.
The petitioners in this case are the Hope Democratic Party, HDP, and its candidate, Ambrose Wuru. In this matter, President Muhammadu Buhari is the first respondent, while INEC is the second respondent, and APC serves as the third respondent. The petitioners argued that by virtue of the purported referendum conducted on 16 February 2019, their party polled 50 million votes. February 16, 2019 was the day that the Independent National Electoral Commission shifted the presidential election in line with the provisions of the Electoral Act. It is as a result of the alleged referendum that the petitioners are urging the court to declare the candidate of the party, Ambrose Wuru, as president. The petitioners, however, are not challenging the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari in the February 23 presidential election. Adopting the petitioners' final address, their counsel Chukwu Njoku urged the court to grant the petitioners' prayers. Counsel to President Muhammadu Buhari, Wole Olanipekun SAN, pleaded with the court to dismiss the petition as the petitioners failed in proving their case, as well as failure to reply on the point of law to the first respondent's final address. Ustaz Usman SAN, counsel to INEC, beseeched the Presidential Election Petition Court to dismiss the petition with substantial cost to serve as lessons to others who might want to bring such frivolous petition before the court. Akin Olujimi SAN, counsel to the APC, pleaded with the court to dismiss the petition for lacking in merit.
That the Honorable Court should grant the reliefs contained in our petition and return the first respondent as the duly elected president by virtue of the referendum conducted on 16th.
All the respondents asked that the petition be dismissed. No, they say they should be declared as the president because there was a referendum on 16th February. There was never a referendum, and a referendum is not a way of electing a president in Nigeria. How they got their own, the tribunal will determine that later.
The 5-man presidential election petition court, led by Justice Mohamed Garba, reserved judgment in the matter to a later date, which will be made known to the council in the matter. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. It's time to take a break. We'll be back shortly with more reports.
Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. So let the change begin from within. Look at you, Ogeruola. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Many thanks for being there. The federal government has constituted a 25-man intergovernmental affair committee to facilitate strategic interface among the three tiers of government for seamless implementation of policies, particularly at the grassroots. Permanent Secretary, Ecological Fund Office, Habiba Lawal, inaugurated the committee in Abuja on behalf of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. Mitaire Ikben reports.
Duplication of roles and poor utilization of human and financial resources for policy implementation are some of the identified challenges militating against efficient service delivery.
It's now turning on our infrastructure. The money that is meant for us to build roads, to build schools, hospitals, is now being diverted to fund and to support federal government institutions. So I think it's important for us to sit down and look at this issue.
To mitigate such challenges, the SGF's office is taking the bull by the horn through the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee to coordinate the activities of the three tiers of government towards fulfilling their statutory obligations and bridging the gap in implementation of government programs and policies, especially at the grassroots.
To remove all areas of frictions in the operation of the three tiers of government.
The whole aim is to see that we try to run as much as possible a government that is all-inclusive, see how best we can position to be able to provide a much-needed service delivery to the Nigerian people, and see how best. And for us to do that, we need to be in harmony with the issues at the national level.
The Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, has secretaries, the state governments and local government officials as members to create an inclusive and broad-based platform for decision-making. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Election administrators from 15 member countries of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, are meeting in Abuja, deliberating on key issues on electoral reforms on subcontinental scale. Mia Ogidi was there.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
A gathering where the rhythm of election revolves. 15 West African countries united by a common cause, that is better electoral process, and the 6th biennial meeting of the ECOWAS Network of Electoral Commissions, ECONEC, is the platform. A sub-region with 320 million people, but large percentage of the disabled, youth and women are excluded in the electoral process. A concern for all here, and they are pushing for a situation where every segment of the society must have a choice and voice in the electoral process.
The legal framework for politics and elections in many places needs to be reviewed to enable greater participation and representation for women, youth, and persons with disabilities.
Now, looking at the recent experience of elections in Nigeria, I do see a lot of hope moving forward. On the positive side, we did see the passing of the Not Too Young to Run bill, allowing younger people to participate in the political processes. We did see the passing of bills also for people with disabilities.
A success story all identified with Nigeria. But democratization is a process and not a project. And equally not a task that must be done only by the executive arm of the government.
The parties in their management of affairs must acknowledge the fact that inclusivity is very, very important so that nobody is left behind.
Professor Mahmoud Yakubu is the president of the ECONEC, and the recommendation to reduce the cost of election administration on the sub-region is worked out.
As you know, ECOWAS is committed to establishing an election logistics depot located in Lungi in Sierra Leone, so that countries in the sub-region that are conducting elections need not spend previous resources to be buying ballot boxes once every 4 years.
7th of August 2019, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu will hand over to his successor as the president of the ECONEC after an election. Mie Ogede, NTA News.
President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawal, has departed Abuja for Saudi Arabia to join millions of Muslim faithful around the world who are gathered in the Holy Land for 2019 Hajj. A statement by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the President of the Senate, Ola Awoni, said the Senate President, while in the Holy Land, will seize the opportunity to pray for the peace, unity and progress of Nigeria, and also pray for the success of the 9th National Assembly, who are now on annual recess as they engage themselves in legislative activities for the advancement of the country. The President of the Senate is expected back home as soon as the Hajj rites are over. Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria is now positioned to deal with the incidences of building collapse in the country following President Muhammadu Buhari's assent to the amended Regulatory Act. President of the Council, Ali Rabiu, said this while briefing journalists on the activities of the 28th Engineering Assembly scheduled for this month. Austin Ayebe reports.
The quality of infrastructure in any society is dependent on the professionals that handle such constructions. This is because when this infrastructure begins to fail, it becomes a challenge to the regulatory body like the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria that is now worried about the spate of building collapse in some parts of Nigeria.
Incidences of building collapse have reached an embarrassing situation in this country, and we are worried, just like every other person. Fortunately, our new law has empowered us to go after quacks.
The President of the Council, Ali Rabiu, noted that with the assent to the Engineers Registration Amended Act 2018, the Council now has far-reaching powers of prosecution of infractions and ensuring capacity building as well as monitoring of local content in the Nigerian engineering sector.
Today, the new law has empowered us to sanction or punish every citizen of Nigeria committing infractions on engineering projects.
The 28th Current Engineering Assembly, scheduled to hold from 19th to 21st of this month, will feature paper presentations on the theme Strategic Alliance amongst Engineering Professionals for Enhanced Opportunities. The assembly is expected to be graced by President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja. I'm Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
And Olayinka Ojo is standing by with trending news from the financial sector.
The National Insurance Commission, NICOM, has barred regulated entities from borrowing money to meet their recapitalization requirements. The Director of Policy and Regulation of NICOM, Agbola Pius, who made the disclosure, said that the capital base of an underwriter was of great importance as it will help it to underwrite more risk, as a large proportion of the local risk were presently seated outside because of low retention capacity. Away from regulations, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has attributed the increase in the price of household kerosene in the country to the pressure of demand and supply. The NNPC Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Undu Ugamadu, said that the price of the product has been deregulated. Ugamadu said that the NNPC remained the sole importer of the product and had been augmenting it with the skeletal production from the refineries. Let's now take a look at how the equities market fared this Monday. Olainka Oju, NTA News.
And for news from other parts of the globe, let's join Ado Adamu Anso.
Thank you and welcome. At least 20 people were killed and 30 others injured in an explosion outside Egypt's National Cancer Institute in central Cairo. Reports say one car was speeding and collided with others, causing an explosion late on Sunday. The cancer treatment facility was evacuated after the crash, which happened near the Tahrir Square. The health ministry said injured people were taken to the hospital for treatment. And at least 40 people have been reported killed and dozens injured after an air attack hit a wedding ceremony in southwestern Libya. A report said forces loyal to strongman Khalifa Haftar launched the attack on Sunday in the town of Mozouk as the victims were attending a wedding. Nearly 1,100 people have been reported killed since Haftar base in eastern Libya launched an offensive against the capital Tripoli on April 4th. The Indian government has scrapped a special status for Indian-administered Kashmir, the most far-reaching political move on the disputed region in nearly 7 decades. Home Minister Amir Shah told Parliament on Monday that the President had signed a decree abolishing Article 370 of the Constitution that gave a measure of autonomy to the Muslim majority. The decree, which was issued hours after imposing a major security clampdown in the disputed region, said the measure came in force at once. And that is it from here. Thank you for your time. I am Ado Ademualso.
It was a rainy day in Abuja, but let's check the weather prospect for tomorrow. And that's the news at this time. Many thanks for watching. I am Habiba Oladipo.